Good evening, everyone, and welcome to yet another very interesting session of Candid Meena. In today's session, we'll be talking about a variety of topics, including gold missing in Sabarimala temple, also what is happening in the Tata company, as well as the fact that Donald Trump has decided to go after the likes of George Soros. This and much, much more. And so, welcome again, Sureshji, to the show. Thank you.
Namaskar.
So, coming to the first point, Sureshji, Donald Trump has made no secret of the plan to go after George Soros. And last month, he said that he signed a memo that encouraged the US Justice Department, the Treasury, and the Internal Revenue Service to investigate funders of domestic terrorism and naming George Soros as a potential target. He also suggested it could revoke the tax exemption enjoyed by non-profit groups that administer gender affirming care to children or assist illegal immigration. So Soros's Open Society Foundation, which is run by his son Alex, sits on $25 billion in assets and funds hundreds of NGOs in the US and around the world. So he has pledged to crack down on left-wing groups in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, and has repeatedly singled out Soros, a major funder of left liberal groups. So, do you think Trump is going to walk the talk? He has been saying this for a long time that he's going to go after George Soros.
Not really. I don't think Jaydev, because one, he will do it in US possibly, yes, but outside US, George Soros is needed by President Trump, or the other way around, whichever way you look at it, because toppling regimes, running funding campaigns for people like Sonam Wangchuk, for Rahul Gandhi, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, in Myanmar, in Nepal, Sri Lanka, and many other nations are done by George Soros. This used to be indirectly done by US aid before. If you recollect, US aid was a major contributor to these kind of nefarious activities. In the name of giving aid, they were doing all this kind of circus. But now President Trump knows that he himself has cut off the aid for US aid, so they cannot operate anymore in these countries. Regime change can only happen by CIA operations, as happened what we saw in Bangladesh, to a smaller extent in Sri Lanka. But Nepal, I think, was more of a homegrown movement, which was cracked down hard by the government there. But what we're going to see now is the fund that in within US, I mean, the way Trump has cracked down on the US universities, the woke culture there, cutting off funding for Harvard and big universities, Columbia and others. What he has done basically is to crack down on two, three things. One is the Islamization of these campuses, the pro-Hamas protest, and second is the gender neutralization, gender kind of, you can have any kind of toilets, any kind of restrooms, and anybody can walk in anywhere kind of stuff. So that is going to stop. And even targeting young children for gender change is something that he is dead against. And that has been a part of his election manifesto. So what has been seeing now within George Soros is that he has been talking about it. As you said, President Trump has been talking, but no action has been forthcoming. Possibly they're working out a deal wherein George Soros will stop his funding activities in the US or cut it down to the minimum, but he will continue to fund organizations abroad where the US government wants a regime change, so that the US government doesn't dirty its hands. At the same time, it gets the work done through a third party. Open Society Foundation, as we all know, funds a variety of organizations across the world, mostly in media, and of course indirectly to political establishments and NGOs. And in India, there are a huge number of media people who are sponsored by George Soros in various ways. They get paid a huge amount of money every year. They are taken on foreign holidays. They are asked to attend, they are invited to attend foreign conferences in exotic locations. And of course, needless to say that, there is a lot of partying that goes on. There is a lot of lobbying that goes on in the backdrop. But the government of India has been now kind of finally woken up in case of Sonam Wangchuk. And I had warned this couple of months ago in one of my tweets where I said, this guy is a very dangerous character. He's been threatening people in Leh and with the money that is getting from all shady sources. But at that point in time, he targeted me. Sonam Wangchuk went after me. He got his chamchas to target my Twitter account, and he did all kind of nonsense. But I didn't back down. And 2 months later, we see him locked up in the Jodhpur jail on the same charges which I had spoken about. A lot of people came back to me and said, Sureshji, Arey, what you said came out right. I said, if I knew it, the government of India would have known it long, long before that. But they refused to act on it. And something similar happened with the farmers' agitation. Something similar happened with the Delhi Shaheen Bagh protest. The government of India is dithering, and that is where the entire danger is. The more you dither, more you are postponing a problem. And what we saw yesterday also was there was an attack on a BJP office in Leh in Nubra Valley, and that was a dangerous thing because what is happening now is that the Congress ecosystem has got really active. They were not active in Leh; they were active more in Kargil. Leh was more of a Buddhist backdrop, and BJP was slowly making its presence felt there. And suddenly, you see the six schedule demand and the statehood demand all coming up because the likes of Sonam Wangchuk and the Open Society Foundation and other NGOs who are funding him don't want BJP to have a presence in Leh, Ladakh. Of course, BJP can never have a presence in Kargil because it's a completely Shia dominated Muslim area. So, what the overall picture, as you said, President Trump might speak about it, but as they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We need to see him crack down hard, as much as he did so quickly in case of USAID. He has not been doing it in this. So, I will wait. I will hold my kind of response on this till President Trump acts on him and asks him to stop activities across the world, not just in the US. I think right now he's stopping all his activities in the US, but can continue with his nefarious activities across the world.
Yeah, also, Sureshi, Pakistan recently offered the US to build a Pasni port in the Arabian Sea, and this is located close to Gwadar and the Pakistan-Iran border. So, is this a huge threat to India? Do you see
No, I don't
this?
think it's a threat to India. It is more of a threat to Iran as such. Because Iran is the only regime left in that area untouched since Gaddafi was knocked off, since the Syrian regime Hafiz al Assad was knocked out, since the Saddam Hussein was knocked out. Now, Iran is the only thorn in the flesh in that area. Apart from the Houthis, of course, the moment Iran disappears, Houthis also disappear. The US tried to do many regime change in Iran. It did not succeed. Even though it's holding its horses back, maybe it feels that if Iran can be pushed into a corner, tomorrow they might, go up with their nuclear ambitions. But I don't think so. That is a possibility because Iran knows the end game of the entire nuclear blackmail, and India showed that to Pakistan during Operation Sindoor. You don't need to knock the actual, complex. That's what even Israel did. They didn't knock off everything, and then US went in with the B-52s, and then they bombed the hell out of Iranian nuclear assets. But they are back again, so they didn't entirely destroy it, but they gave a sort of a warning to them, saying, "If this is what you continue to do, this is what we will do." And that is what US did. Now with the port that is coming up in Pakistan, they have easy access to two corridors. One is Afghanistan, and through South Waziristan and to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Now, if you remember, there's an agreement that was signed between a Pakistan government and an US company to dig out minerals. And the first consignment of those minerals has already traveled to US. Yesterday I think there was a statement in the newspaper. I forget the name of the company. It is a US government held company. That is, they hold a stake in it. And those minerals have traveled to US from, your Baloch area and South Waziristan. So that entire thing is all crucial. For them, they need a huge port to take out these minerals from Pakistan and take it to US because Pakistan has no wherewithal to dig it out. The US will come, but they will offer them the money, they will offer them some defense equipment, and of course, they will offer them a lot of other political support against India. But it's not a threat to India as such because for India, the Iranian regime is very crucial. Right now, they are stuck because they don't have the money. They are kind of blocked everywhere, like the Russians have been blocked post Ukraine war. And for the Iranian regime to come out of it, start selling its oil, which is its biggest product, that will be a big challenge. And India can wait because we really don't need we just need an approach to reach Afghanistan. and that was through the Iranian port which we are building up. But then now that has also been blocked by the US as a part of the sanctions. So I don't think we will be going there anytime soon till at least the Iranian regime changes or the US changes its attitude.
Yeah, so India is facing a 2.5 war. We have a point 0.5 war within India, the enemies. And also now, what is the news is that terror groups like Islamic State Khorasan province and Lashkar-e-Toiba are seen working together, according to an Intel dossier. And ISKP is being repurposed by Pakistan's ISI to target Baluch separatists in Afghanistan. So this is also happening, Sureshji.
Yeah, it's an interesting game there because what Pakistan feels that India is arming the Taliban and to a certain extent the Baloch Liberation Army. Reaching out to the Baloch Liberation Army is pretty difficult for India because one has to pass through either the Iranian territory or the Pakistani territory or through the international waters. But reaching out to Afghanistan is easy because we can go through China and then reach not directly through the land route but through the air route. India is offering a lot of help to Afghanistan. One we had in the previous regime also, where we built the hospitals, we built the infrastructure, roads, and other things. Now, Taliban is kind of a boxed in a corner now. The US has become more aggressive back in Pakistan. The Pakistanis don't want the Tehrik-e-Taliban to keep hitting them as and where, and that is why Pakistan is now offering help to the US because they want the Tehrik-e-Taliban to be tackled and, of course, the Taliban itself to be tackled. But that is easier said than done because Taliban is a battle-hardened group. We all know that. I mean, of course, notorious as per international standards, but then that is what they are. They have been after. They have been participants in so many of these so-called terror campaigns, and they have kind of battle-hardened themselves. So will Taliban give up? No, I don't think they'll give up that easily. They are also equally boxed in like Iran and Russia. US wanted the Bagaram Air Force Base. Taliban refused because that would have meant that US would have a presence like they have in Qatar or any other West Asian countries where they have huge air bases. And Afghanistan was one such issue which President Trump took on Biden and said that Biden literally ran away from Afghanistan's spineless character and all the kind of naming that he did for Biden. So Trump wants to basically say that, look, I got the Afghan presence back, but so far he has not succeeded in that. But I don't think the entire thing revolves around the fact that the US is now looking at how to make money, which is through the crypto deals and the Bitcoin and other thing that has been done with President Trump's family. On the other hand, they are digging out the precious minerals and taking it back to the US so that they can have a monopoly and counter China in the rare earths issue. That's what is happening here.
Yeah, also the fact that in Odisha, a BJP leader and lawyer Pittabasa Panda was shot dead in Berhampur. And also you had a BJP MLA being assaulted in Bengal. So what is happening all over these
I was
places?
surprised. I was surprised to see Mamata Banerjee visiting this BJP injured BJP leaders and MLA. I never thought because she understood the implications of it. One, the Lok Sabha has already asked for a clarification on how this incident happened because the person was an MP, and of course another person was an MLA. It's very obvious that why they were attacked. According to the Calcutta police, or rather the West Bengal police, they were attacked by the villagers, which is kind of a very wishy-washy statement. The fact was that it was the Trinamool Congress and, of course, a lot of Bangladeshi infiltrators who attacked them. And that is what happened. And Mamata Banerjee doesn't want that issue to spiral out of control because she knows that BJP will use it as an excuse to put central forces there or go to the High Court or Supreme Court and get an order that will kind of make her life miserable. In Odisha, the something similar happened, and we know that this entire thing all revolves around the Durga Puja issue. The Durga Puja is like the Ganesh Utsav of the south. I remember when I was in school and college, Hyderabad used to have 4 or 5 days of curfew just after the Ganesh procession was over. There used to be riots all over the place. And that is what something similar happens in West Bengal. But in Hyderabad and in Telangana, when NT Ramarao came down, he cracked down hard on it and he ensured that none of that would happen. And he kind of the major part was always used to happen in the old city of Hyderabad. And that was kind of cleaned up. I think what we need to do is, of course, the old system. They're saying you cannot play music in front of a masjid, and this is something we have been hearing from the 1920s onwards. It still continues in 2025. 100 years later, you're still told that you cannot play music in front of a masjid because it's haram. But at the same time, you will hear songs being belted out at various Islamic processions. Then what happens? Where is the music? Where is the masjid then? That's what we need to ask. We are living in a country where people have certain rules. I mean, you hear azan 5 times a day, one starting as early in the 4 o'clock in the morning or 4:40. I mean, people need to sleep, isn't it? And that is what the main thing is, that we need to kind of ensure that every religion has its place. And Hindus in West Bengal are a kind of a what do you call a threatened uh, existence they have out there. They have been told that they are a minority and they need to keep quiet. And yesterday, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary made a statement saying, "Don't be surprised if the Muslims of Murshidabad and Malda and ask that they want to merge into Bangladesh. Don't be surprised with that." This is not a BJP leader saying. This is Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary saying it. So he knows what the feeling is on the ground. I mean, we know from the times of A.B. Ganikan Chaudhary how they all won in Malda. We saw the violence in Murshidabad. The problem, Jaydev, is that the West Bengal government has now let loose a kind of a Basmasur, which is now trying to put its hand on the head of Mamata Banerjee. And she's realized this now, that she's let loose a genie. Now the genie is out of control. And that is going to finally hurt her just as much as it hurt the communists in West Bengal. The wipeout of the communists happened not just because of Mamata Banerjee's resurgence, but also to the fact that they cultivated a civilization which then started threatening them itself. And we know what happened in Bangladesh since the ouster of Sheikh Hasina Wajid from there. And that entire ecosystem that existed in Bangladesh, when you spoke of 2.5, I'll say it's 3.5 now, or rather 3, because the point 0.5 is also from Bangladesh side. The Pakistan army chief is there today. Why is he there? Well, you can all guess why he's there. He would rather give Bangladesh some second-hand aircraft and weapons which he got from China, which are not working, so that the Bangladeshis can keep threatening India that we will cut off your chicken's neck. Of course, Bangladesh knows that if they try anything of that sort, what kind of reply they will get, because Mohammed Yunus has now gone to the US, I believe, and is going to the US rather, and he would be negotiating for some funding from the US government, maybe offer them an Air Force base or a naval base so that they can keep an eye on both India and China in the Bay of Bengal. And that is what is going to happen. I think sooner or later, um, the violence in West Bengal will impact overall, because what you saw in Odisha is only an extension of the violence in West Bengal, because they all have the same celebratory mood around the celebration time around Durga Puja. As much as they fight over whether Rasgulla is the original product of West Bengal or Orissa. So that is also a battle that they have there.
Yeah. So, Suresh, also the fact that recently in the United States, you have a lot of Indian Americans being targeted. We had, a person who was beheaded. Another person was shot dead. You had a lady, Indian, working as a in the supermarket, and she was also shot dead. So you see a pattern that Indian American origin people are being targeted in the United States. Just what is it? Is it due to the H-1B visa focus, or the fact that Indian Americans are taking away the jobs of local Americans? How do you see this?
I think it's a combination of all these factors. The two incidents which you mentioned were individual criminal cases where it was not a mob mentality. There was one gentleman who was running a hotel, another gentleman also running a hotel, and they had some difference of opinion with somebody, and the guy took out a gun and shot them. And there was also an incident what you saw in a petrol bunk where a boy from Hyderabad was kind of killed while working there. Now, what is happening is, when you are looking at an incident in isolation, US has a gun culture, and we all know that schools, colleges, malls, everybody is targeted. The gun lobby is extremely powerful in the US. No US president has been able to clamp down on the gun lobby. The obvious thing is, it's a chicken and egg situation. They say, because there's so much of violence in the society, we need to have personal protection. So we need guns. And the other way around is, when the guns are there, you have more crimes being committed. And that is the problem in US. You're seeing everywhere. I mean, we saw a kid being killed another day. President Trump shot during his election campaign. That violence is there. Imagine a person as closely protected as President Trump getting shot. And that is so what happens to a US common citizen in the US. That's a culture out there. Regarding the fact that Indians are taking away American jobs, well, that is always there. I keep telling this to people. We take it as a matter of right that H1B is a right. No, it is not a right. It was a law brought in by President Bush in 1990. It was supposed to be a small temporary measure to tide over a crisis of shortage of American STEM workers. They didn't have enough trained manpower in STEM field. But what happened is it continues 35 years later also. And we have, to a large extent, misused it. When I say we, it doesn't mean Indian companies or Indian individuals. 10 of the 10 top companies who had H1B last year, who applied and got the maximum number of H1B visas, there is only one Indian company, TCS, at the third place. Rest were all American companies, including two retailers. Imagine, we had Walmart and Target being in that group. So what were the retailers hiring people for? Software jobs? I doubt. They were obviously hiring them for managerial positions or something like that, unless I'm wrong with it. But imagine Meta, Google, everybody is hiring Microsoft, H1B professionals because they wanted to beat the wages. They are not paying the same wages that they would have to pay an American. And that is where the entire rancor comes in. Imagine if a Bangladeshi comes in, and we're already feeling that in India. When a Bangladeshi comes in and takes away your job tomorrow, we are lucky that they're not so educated. Otherwise, that would have happened. But it's happening at the lower level, where they're taking away the jobs which are meant for the locals at the very unskilled or even semi skilled level. Now, something similar, you saw the same protest happening in Australia sometime back, a couple of months back or a month back. We saw Indians get out from there. The two, three things that were told when I spoke to my friends in Australia, they said one is the assimilation of culture. We are still called upon as we have smell of spices. We are not clean. It's a different fact that how Indians maintain their toiletry kind of beliefs or way we use. It's far different from what Americans and Australians do. We are far cleaner than them. But the fact is that we are being targeted. Yes, we are taking away. Now, in Canada, we are told that the maximum number of visa violations, and that runs into lakhs, I believe, have been committed by Indian students who are overstaying the visas, who are kind of exhausted. The problem, Jaydev, is people like you and me are still in India. And they might say, oh, you guys are kind of jealous of us because we are in the US. The problem here is the culture that I want to go to US and make money. That's it. You're not going to study there. They take 50, 40, 50 lakhs loan. Today I was reading a story of a lot of youngsters saying, we've taken huge loans. We don't know how to pay back if H1B doesn't happen. That means you went there for H1B. You didn't go to study there. You went because after the you went for the OPTs, and then after the OPTs you go for H1B, and hopefully stay there till you get a green card. And after getting the green card, you wait for another couple of generations to get your citizenship. Generations. I'm deliberately saying it, not decades. This is the problem actually. That we are yes, we need to travel everywhere. We Indians are there in every part of the world. There's no doubt about that. In fact, you will be surprised that H1B outside the quota that is now there for IT professionals, there is another huge segment of people who are taken from in the healthcare field, for example. Healthcare field, you have doctors and nurses being taken under H1B, but that doesn't come under this H1B quota. That is why it's not been impacted. Otherwise, US hospitals will go empty. Second thing is priests from India. Nuns and priests from India are being taken because American churches don't have enough priests and nuns to take care of run their facilities. And we are forgetting, we are missing the wood for the trees, and that is what the entire thing is all about. That America has a talent shortage, but they have made up in the STEM field at large extent. What they were 30 years ago, when they had a huge shortage, according to the National Science Mission out there, that has been bridged to a large extent. What is used to have, remember, they used to have this debate of on site and off site thing. Now, do you hear that anymore? Nothing. After COVID, you can work from anywhere. Who knows? Tomorrow, somebody was suggesting the other day, Microsoft can have a campus in Mexico next door and fly in their executives every week on a business visa. They have a business visa and then they can fly in twice or thrice a month and have the meetings and go back to Mexico and work from there. It's a near shore agreement, just a drive away or a flight away from US. And this is what the entire thing is. I mean, you can do it even in Canada for that matter. Today, you can work from anywhere in the world. I think Indians are not threatening anybody's jobs. We have two major plus points. One is our huge talent pool, which I feel that only 10% are employable. Rest 90% of our engineering graduates are sheer waste because they are taught, I mean, absolutely nothing by the third rate faculty. But the top 10% of the Indian engineers are really good. And once they go to US, they get educated and they acquire the latest skills. They stay on for long. But those who are taken on H1B, and that is where the entire problem comes in, is the Americans saying, if they say Indians get out, don't be surprised. Because even now the US government is not saying that we will not take it because the visas for this year are over. The next one comes in spring, only 2026. What is the American government saying? If your guy is so good, or if the lady whom you're hiring is so good from India or wherever it is, you will pay $1 lakh. That means the company is prepared to pay that much of money for a skilled worker. Obviously, the question is why would they pay? They can keep him in India or Europe or anywhere for that matter and get the same work done. And I think this time has now come, as I keep saying always, and I'm not sure I've said it on your channel. America's economy went for a toss when the day when the plumber who came to fix the tap cost more than the tap. And that is the benchmark of any economy. If the plumber costs more than the tap, you are out. And that is what is happening in India too. But here we are very smart. We get small things done when the plumber comes, apart from the job which is supposed to come and do. But America has outpriced itself. America has out talented itself. And America today is not competitive. It costs a whole lot to make a phone in the US and a car in the US. That is something that America needs to think about. Manufacturing will never come back. We are not taking away American jobs in manufacturing. China has taken it away. Canada has taken it away. Mexico has taken it away. We have used our brains, and that is what's the most important thing.
Yeah. So moving to the next topic, a senior Travancore Devaswam Board official B. Murari Babu, he has been suspended over a lapse in the Sabarimala gold plating project, and he wrongly recorded gold-plated Dwara Palaka idols as copper sheets, and the suspension is pending inquiry. So this whole alleged loss of 4.5 kg of gold from the Dwarapalaka idols in Sabarimala has created a huge storm in Kerala.
The story goes back to late 1900s, 1980 or 89, or was it 90? I don't remember. Vijay Mallya donated 30 kilos of gold to the Sabarimala temple for covering sheets, gold sheets on the Dwarapalakas, the main door of the Sanctum Sanctorum, and the roof and the walls of the Sanctum Sanctorum. All that work was done as per his insistence, Vijay Mallya's insistence, right there itself. The doors were not carried out, nor were the roof removed. These were sheets that were put with the fixed with the use of mercury on top, and that is how they were fixed on it. Now the question was, you look at Golden Temple; it's covered in gold. Did you ever hear of sheets of gold being taken away for gold plating, or rather fixing back this gold that was lost, supposed to be lost? No, it didn't happen. The problem now here is Travancore Devaswam Board has suspended a very low level official trying to get away. No, they cannot get away because there's a High Court ordered supervised investigation going on. And what the main point right now, Jayadev, is very clear. One, let's take the Dwarapalakas. They were taken away to Chennai. Now tell me, Kerala has a lot more jewelers than anywhere else in the country. You look at the jewelry shops, and most of the jewelry shops in any city are owned by companies from Kerala. Why would you take the sheets all the way to Chennai? And the travel time for the sheets, this Dwarapalaka sheets that is covering of Dwarapalakas was 35 days. Does it take 35 days to move these two covering metal, whether it's gold or copper, now we don't know, to Chennai? It would take maximum 2 to 3 days, maximum. If they're taken by way of an aircraft or whatever it is, then it would be even less. But even by road transport, overnight you would reach Chennai. It took 35 days. Now, what happened is when this Dwarapalaka sheets were removed, they were recorded as copper, as you're saying, and some guy has been suspended. Very low level official. But didn't the Travancore Devaswam Board know this? When it was taken, it had a certain weight. And they took it to Chennai and they said, we applied gold coating on that or gold sheets on that. Okay, the guy who took it is another shady character, Unnikrishan Poti. And he says he got some sponsors to give the money for it. Now, why would a sponsor give money to cover the Dwarapalakas when he's not getting any credit for it? That is the main thing. So what this guy did was obviously that all the 30 days out of the 35 days, he was carrying these Dwarapalaka covers to different places, to different houses of businessmen, putting it there, doing pujas, and then asking for money to cover the same thing. Now, what happened? Here's the very, very strange part, which, according to news channels in Kerala, is what really happened. Because when the thing came back, when the Dwarapalaka cover came back with the additional gold on it, it weighed 4 kilos less. It should be 5 kilos more, or 3 kilos more, at least 2 kilos more. How did the weight of a Dwarapalaka decrease in spite of adding gold onto it by 4 kilos? Obviously, that thing has been replaced. There has been another Dwarapalaka covering made in these 35 days, and that was bought back. But nobody in the wildest dreams thought that somebody would measure it and say, oh my God, this is 4 kilos less than what went out. And that is where it all started. It started with the Dwarapalakas. And now it has spread all over the temple. In fact, the Sannidhanam itself. And there they're saying that entire sheet has disappeared. The doors have disappeared. The sheet on the golden sheet and the doors have disappeared. One can still argue saying, oh, it rains all through the year in Kerala. So maybe the roof part of it, the gold melted away. It never happens. As I gave you the Golden Temple example. But still, we will go with we give them the benefit of doubt. But what about the main doors? How did they get impacted? How did the gold sheets on the main doors disappear? Now we are told the main door of the Sanctum Sanctorum was taken away. So was the Lord exposed, kept in the open? These are questions that are there. I think the Travancore Devasum Board, and this particular incident happened from the first term of Pinarayi Vijayan now to the second term of Pinarayi Vijayan. And he has tried to kind of uh, get Lord Ayappa, literally besmirch him, kind of get those women come up the hill. We did all kind of stuff. And as they say, the curse of Lord Ayappa is on Pinarayi Vijayan now. And the Travancore Devasam Board has to answer to it. Because these are guys who claim gods don't exist. Yet they have their Travancore Board Devasam is filled with people from the Communist Party or the Congress Party, whichever party is ruling. We need to ask the same question whether these people should be controlling our temples. That is a moot question, Jaydev. Should the government be controlling our temples? Many people say, oh, Modi should bring in a law. No, it is not a state, it is not a central subject. Temples are a state subject. Otherwise, Modi government or the union government would be running the Tirumala temple or the Padmanabha Swami temple. No, it doesn't work. It belongs to the state. The right is with the state. So it is called endowments in Telangana. It is called Devasam in Kerala. But the main thing is these Devasams have looted the devotees' money that was given in form of donation in the hundis and prasadam. Last year, Sabarimala Satya got between 360 to 400 crores of revenue. Remember, this temple opens only for 68 days during the Mandala season and 5 days a month of every Malayalam calendar. And then a couple of times during Lord Ayappa's birth star. Put together all of it, we are talking of something in the range of 68 plus another 70, 130 to 140 days in a year. That's it out of 365. The point is very simple. Where's this money gone? It is not like TTD. TTD at least even now it at least run professionally. They run a lot of colleges, they run hospitals, they take care of a lot of small temples. All that is done. What is Travancore Devasam Board doing with the money? Where is the money? You won't believe for the last 10 years there has been no audit. There has been no audit of accounts of the Travancore Devasam Board. I doubt even the Cochin Devasam Board has done it. Or the Kudal Maniki. This is what we need to understand. This is where the problem is, Jaydev. There needs to be a complete investigation by a very, very independent body, which is now happening under the supervision of the Kerala High Court.
Yeah, also it is coming close to the assembly election next year of Kerala.
That is another thing. So that is Pinarayi tried to bring his global conference on Lord Ayappa with the same motive, but that entire thing seems to have backfired. The curse of Lord Ayappa will never go away, no matter who did it.
Yeah. So coming to a last point, Sureshji, that there's a dispute within the Tata Sons,
Oh, yeah.
and apparently there's a growing opposition to Noel Tata's decisions. So a meeting has been declared between the central government ministers and Tata Sons officials, which is scheduled to take place today. So what is brewing inside Tata?
I think the entire thing started after the death of Ratan Tata, which is almost exactly a year. It is tomorrow is his first death anniversary. And on the 10th, there is a board meeting of the Tata Trust. Now, if you know the structure of the Tatas, and since I worked for that group for about a very short while, for about 3 years, of course, I worked in the Taj group of hotels, which is nothing to, and I don't know the how the corporate hierarchy works. But that time, Mr. Ajit Kerkar was the chairman of the Taj group of hotels, and he was ousted by Ratan Tata moment he took over after JRD passed away. There've been a lot of internal battles within the Tata those days also. But Ratan Tata, and to a large extent even JRD Tata, had a very tight control on what is happening in the Tata group. The decision to bring in professionals, what happened with Chandrasekhar and GB coming in as Tata Sons chairman, was opposed by many within the family. Now, if you recollect, Cyrus Mistry was brought in as the chairman, and he was unceremoniously sacked because of another family battle that happened. The board has a couple of independent directors, including Venu Srinivasan and others. But the problem is the split between the board at the time. We're talking of Tata Trust Board now here. They are saying that many of the decisions are being taken without their approval. For example, every 100 crores investment requires a board approval. Appointment of a chairman or removing a major senior executive requires the board approval. And during Ratan Tata's time, this opposition was not there. He used to tightly control them. He had an iron grip on the entire thing. But moment Ratan Tata passed away, the family is now back fighting. And Noel Tata, who took over as the alter ego of Ratan Tata, is now having an issue because within the board there is a split now, 4:3. And now what happened? The government has realized that Tata is too big a company to fail. Already they're having problems with their software division, which has run into losses this year. But they still made the group made a lakh of crore rupees profit. So that's a huge amount of money. That's not a small amount of money. So what you're going to see is that the government is stepping in because the Tata Sons plan to come out with a public issue, and that is going to get impacted with all this fight that is going on in the group. And sooner or later, I think the government had to step in. And yesterday night there was a meeting, I believe, with Amit Shah ji. Chandrasekhar ji met Amit Shah, and the top executives also met him. The government is now smoking the peace pipe. I think they're meeting Nirmala Sitaraman today. The government will kind of arm twist the Tata Trust Board to kind of cool down and tell them, boss, look, you can't do all this, or we will supersede you. That is a possibility. The group doesn't listen. There are many laws which the government can use to supersede the board. We could remember how the Tatas work, Jay. They basically most of their profits go into organizations which they sponsor. These are like Tata Institute of Science, Social Sciences. We have the Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru. A lot of this institute, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, the Tata Memorial Hospital, most of the profit of the group goes into the trust, and the trust funds all of it. Obviously there's a feeling that a lot of these individuals who are now running these companies are running it like their personal fiefdoms, and they have all the right. I mean, if you appoint a chairman of a, say, even for Tata Steel, you got to give him that mode. And this is what Rusi Modi faced in his initial years also in Tata's, when he was running the kingdom from Jamshedpur. I mean, there was a lot of opposition to his style of working. Many people didn't like it, even though he was a part and parcel of the entire, indirectly, the Parsi family that was there. But over a period of time, the appointment of Chandrasekharan didn't go well with many family members. They thought that it should be within the family, somebody should control it. But no, Tata Sons went into a non-entity that is with outside the family for the first time. And today, the entire problem is because of that. The bringing the inlet of professionals, the bringing in the professionals, seem to have upset the board members, and they are saying that, look, we are just kind of figurehead sitting here, just nodding decisions. We won't take it. And Noel Tata doesn't have the aura or the charm of a JRD or a Ratan Tata. That is another problem. We saw the same thing, remember, when the Ambanis split, or rather, when Dhirubhai Ambani passed away and there was no succession plan in place, and the family hadn't decided what to do. There was a fight between Mukesh and Anil, and we all know rest is history, what happened there. But that should not happen. There should be a professional system of working. Big companies, big companies. Because see, at the end of the day, TCS and I think Land Rover, JLR Land Rover contribute about 60% of the company's profits. And this year, I think Tata Steel is a good performer this year, but other companies are not doing so well. The point is very simple. It's too huge a conglomerate. Has time come for it to be split into different groups? We don't know. I'm not a corporate honcho to decide, or I'm not a financial expert to do that. But I think it's too big to fail. Tatas can't fail. They are looked upon even now as an example of corporate example, and I even keep saying proudly, their culture of ensuring that we will not pay a bribe is something that is ingrained in every employee. I think that is there. I think even now I hope it still stands. When I was there in Taj Gateway in Bengaluru, those were the culture that we were told, no, you will not pay a bribe to an excise official. If he wants to file a case, let him file a case. That ethics part of it, I think Tata still retain it. People look upon and say, or look up and say, oh wow, we work for this group, or I want to work for this group. Tatas are different. That is what we were told. I hope they stay different.
Yeah, and also the fact that Air India is also bought, and they have bought the latest Airbus 350, and all those planes are competing with the likes of Emirates Airlines and Qatar Airways. So how do you see? Do you see even Air India, gradually overtaking the share?
See, yeah, it's all
Yeah.
about the routes. It's all about the routes you control. End of the day, you get a landing in Heathrow or Gatwick, or you get a landing in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or Qatar or Doha or wherever it is, Riyadh. It's all about the routes that you control. And Air India was a national carrier. Of course, it belonged to the Tatas earlier, and it was forcibly taken away from them by Indira Gandhi. Then she messed up the airline. In fact, like a public sector, any other public sector company, it was messed up. The brand took a huge beating, and even now it is something very similar. It will take time to turn around all this. See, we don't have the money that the Qataris have, or the Saudis have, or even UAE has. We don't have that kind of money to bankroll an airline where no questions are asked. How much you spent and what kind of money did you make? Here it's a public limited company and they need to answer questions for it. The true Tata's paid a bomb of a money to take over Air India, but they got a great brand, there's no doubt. It will take time to rectify. They are doing it, they're buying new aircraft, refurbishing it, all a lot of work is going on. But the public sector culture to go away and a new culture to come in, it will take time, Jaydev. And I think Air India is a great brand to have because we had the Maharaja, the icon of Air India at one time representing India. Every national airline, whether it's private or owned by a company, has a matter of prestige. So when you're flying Air India out, it no longer may be a government company, but it still represents India. And that is what we need to be proud of.
Okay. So Sureshji, that was a fantastic session, and we will see you again next week. Until then, Jai Hind and Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.